This morning, as I drank some coffee with my daughter, an ad sort of went by, and I thought I heard what I thought I heard, and I had to get the remote from her and rewind it, and then grabbed my cell phone to tape it because it is the kind of ad that is so effective and we can't allow it to go unnoticed because it could have an impact on legislation, specifically as they continue to build back better because of the influence of the older people, and if they decide that they are going to believe the lie. So anyhow, let's go ahead and play it, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I take medication for systemic lupus and cancer. Recently, I've been hearing about Medicare negotiation and how some in Congress think it's a good idea. It isn't. In countries where the government sets prices and controls access, patients experience dangerous wait times. Some never gain access to the life-saving medicines we have here in America. Government price setting will hurt seniors like me. Let's never let that happen here.
Let me tell you, I cannot express how completely and entirely pissed as a political activist that I was seeing that ad, and that not only political activists but any thinking person should feel about it. I want to immediately thereafter making the tape, I went ahead and did the blog. And I want to read a portion of the blog because you heard what she had to say. She made the claim that somehow other countries that do this, their people are in dire straits. Well, look, here's the reality, and let me tell you what I wrote. I wrote as follows. This morning, well, let's start with the thing. Ironically, the woman in the ad has the same disease that my wife has, systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE. They have not been any significant strides on this disease, likely because it does not affect enough people, and that is the problem with having a system that is dependent on for-profit drugs. Let's discuss several drugs specific to the mentioned disease, SLE, in the ad. It has been managed successfully for decades with old medications no longer under patent, like prednisone, less than $20 a month, hydrochloroquine, less than $10 a month. And if one has kidney involvement, it's called mycopholate mofetil. I am not good at pronouncing these names, but you get the point. You can get that particular drug for under $60 a month. My wife participated in that study, the Benlysta study by Big Pharma, GSK, Big Pharma called GlaxoSmithKline. They are the ones who developed Benlysta. Supposedly, if you have nephritis or some lupus-caused disease, this drug is supposed to help you, right? My wife participated in the study for several years to test the drug Benlysta by Big Pharma, GSK, but there was no perceived measurable positive effects of that drug on her at all. Now that the test is over, it would cause her, I want you guys to listen. Remember, I told you her other drugs was sum total less than $100 a month. They're all they're no longer on patent, right? So it's in the public domain. And by the way, most drugs are developed as anyway. But anyway, Benlysta, the drug she tested, if she wants to partake in taking that drug for her health, suppose it really mattered, it would cost her $42,000 per year. Again, I repeat, that's not a mistake. $42,000 a year if she wanted to use that drug. Again, one should remember all drugs were in some manner funded by taxpayers directly or indirectly. Yet those drug pushing terrorists continue to rip off Americans. Look, the statements in the ads are false and misleading. They claim that other countries that have price controls on drugs have significant wait times. Have you tried to get an appointment recently with a specialist? That's a huge wait time, isn't it? Have you tried to get a drug that you can't afford? They've turned you into a beggar if you want a drug that you can't afford because they're ripping you off. $42,000 with for one drug for 1 year, Benlista. Think about who can afford that. That is how much, that is more money than most Americans make every year for one drug. And if you take Benlista, you probably need more. They fatten the coffers of executives and shareholders that played no part in developing these drugs. The ad would have one believe that humane procedures in other countries to save the lives of most without causing their bankruptcy is somehow dangerous. The fact says otherwise. The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, also known as OECD, is an international organization that works to build better policies for better lives. Their goal is to shape policies that foster prosperity, equality, opportunity, and the well-being for all. They rank countries in many areas, including healthcare. As drug companies and other health companies continue the pilfering of Americans, we continue to remain mediocre in life expectancy. Where do you think we land in all these industrialized countries and countries all over the world? We pay more than twice as much in healthcare than anybody else. And by the way, how is our life expectancy? Is it better than everybody else? Should it be better? We are pumping a lot of money into it. We are ranked 26th in the country. Every country that reigns in our big pharma and other personal wealth pilfering companies do much better than we do. Everyone that reined them in, every country that reined these savages in, they do better with life expectancy than we do. What kind of fools are we? Do not be fooled by these ads. They want you to support policies that go against your interests. They want you to pay as much as they can get out of you. Remember, I wrote a piece and I did a video a few months back that says what they charge you is whatever the market will bear, and the total amount of your savings and everything that you could come up with. Do not be fooled. These guys are financial and healthcare terrorists. That's what they are. And until we call them out for what they really are, until we put this, not because you're wearing a suit and a tie and you command 6 or 7 figures mean you're worth it, or you are a good person, or you are deserving of it. They like to tell you, if the government control prices, if the government start telling us we can't charge this, what will it do for innovation? The people who profit from healthcare, the people who profit from making these drugs, are not the people who innovated to create them, are not the geniuses that created it. It's not the engineer, the physicists, the doctors. These are not the people making the trillions in profits from these things. So don't believe the lie that if somehow we stop these guys from making big profits, that somehow it's going to affect innovation. It's going to create less drugs. That is crap. It is scientifically crap. Why? It's not the scientists that make all the money. It's the shareholders that make all the money, and the executives getting the bonuses. And you know what? They don't have a lot upstairs. They're not the ones that know to create the chemicals. They're not the ones that know how the body operates. They're not the ones that do these things. So do not buy the lie that somehow forcing these guys to do things right would somehow affect innovation, because if there's no profit, nobody's going to innovate. You don't have to ask people who know, engineers, doctors, physicians, physicists. We are naturally very curious. We are inquisitive, and that's why we innovate. We rarely innovate because there's a buck on the other side. What you have to understand is the corrosive nature of the capitalist does not apply to those who are subjected or subjective to the capitalist. Let's remember these realities. It is time for us to learn these things and no longer fall for the misinformation and the crap from the capitalist structure from those who are leading unjustifiably. Folks, those commercials, those ads are effective. It is important that we share the truth, to prevent them from having their intended effect. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.